This is Rachel Dolezal, and you're listening to Fascination Street podcast.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This is a return appearance with guest David Wood. He is the CEO of Focus.CEO, as well as a life coach and the author of a few books, most recently, Mouse in the Room, Because the Elephant is Not Alone. David was on a couple of months ago. We had a great conversation then. I wanted to invite him back so we could have some more great conversation. And we did. We talked about how to stay in the moment and enjoy the good things that are happening in our lives as they're happening instead of focusing on the things that are not the best. We talk about how to use compassion as a way to help alleviate some stress and some of the aggravation that is in all of our lives. We give a few examples of situations that maybe aren't ideal and how we can sort of adjust our mindset and deal with those situations in a way that is beneficial for most of the people involved and also decrease some of the stress and the frustration that we are feeling about these situations. I really enjoy talking to David. We get into it. It's a lot of fun and you're going to enjoy it. Again, he is the author of Mouse in the Room, Because the Elephant is Not Alone. He gives that link towards the end of the episode, and he offers a couple of little freebies in there too if you follow that link. And this is my second conversation with the CEO of Focus.CEO, David Wood. Talk to me.
Steve Owens.
What is going on, my man?
Hey, man, life is good. I'm feeling peaceful and happy. How are you in this moment?
I'm doing pretty good in this moment. I can't lie. It's been a pretty good few days. And, being the holidays and whatnot, I've done a lot of reflecting. I'm in a great place. My family is fantastic. My business is going great. My podcast is going great. All my family is healthy and happy.
Wow.
Yeah, man, I got no complaints.
Wow. Business, family, podcast, the body's doing good.
Yeah, man, I feel fantastic.
Wow.
If I tried, it might take me a while to come up with something to complain about. I'm in a really, really good place.
Wow. Well, that is awesome. I'm happy to hear that. That's worthy of celebration.
I agree. All right. Welcome back to Fascination Street Podcast, David Wood. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling peaceful. I'm feeling happy and inspired. And it's in this moment grateful because when you don't have that, it can be so painful to have angst and stress or fatigue, or the body's not good, or you're upset that someone betrayed you or victimized. It's so easy to have that human experience. So when I have moments like this, I'm glad to remember, okay, this is good. I like this.
Love it.
I'd like to keep this. If I could just keep this, stable for the next 30 years, that would be nice. And I predict that that's not going to happen.
That is hilarious. What an odd prediction. Way to go out on a limb with that.
Yeah, right.
I recently was talking with a good friend of mine, and he was struggling a little bit with some of the things that we mentioned. He's struggling a little bit in one of his relationships. He's struggling a little bit with his business in that he has too much business and he's having to turn some away, and he's really conflicted about that. Like we've been talking the last few days, and we've really been talking about trying to, appreciate the moments. Like we were talking about just now, kind of appreciate all of the good things that are happening right now and try and live in that space rather than, live in the aggravation and the frustration of some of the things that can weigh us down. So I feel like this is an apropos conversation that you and I are having, because that has really been my focus for this entire week.
All right. Well, perfect. We're in the right place.
We are in the right place. Streetwalkers, you remember David Wood from a couple of months ago, was his first appearance. This is his second. Welcome back, David.
Thank you.
David is the CEO of Focus.CEO, as well as a life coach and author of, most recently, Mouse in the Room, Because the Elephant is Not Alone. We are sort of right in the middle of the holiday season here in America. Being from Australia, how, do you even care about Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that other weird American bullshit?
Well,
You can't possibly care about Thanksgiving, right?
I care a little bit. I enjoyed it. Let's say that. I don't care about Thanksgiving, but I enjoyed it when someone sent me a message of appreciation and it had me feel good and realize what a lovely thing to just be reminded to be grateful. And I did do something special. I went with a friend to a bar and had a drink with him and had a good time. But I didn't grow up with that holiday. So no, it doesn't have the same meaning as Christmas does. Christmas, I have a lot of memories of being with family. And so Christmas is coming up and I'm a holiday orphan in that I'm away from family. And so I don't know what I'm going to do for Christmas, but I hope I'll create something where at least, like, I don't need to spend a whole day with people. I'd like to spend some time with friends, whether it be on Christmas Day or the day before, so I can feel like I did something holiday and feel like I have friends and community, because sometimes it can feel tough to, have those days or moments. And it's like, oh, a lot of people get down around the holidays because they confront the fact that they don't have as much support and community or relationship as they would like. And I feel compassion and empathy for that, because I know that can sting.
I used to get, on that subject, I used to get not clinically depressed, but I used to get fairly down in the dumps when the holiday season came around. And so I was never really excited about the holiday season. And then, as I got older and I started losing people, people pass away. My mother is gone. I miss her every holiday season, and, grandparents and friends that aren't with us anymore. I was really, in these last few years, my down in the dumps period was really, really taking hold during the holidays. But probably the last 2, maybe 3 years, I have sort of taken the reins of that, and knowing that it's coming, seeing it ahead or whatever, I kind of, for lack of a better phraseology, I guess, I turn the tides. I know it's coming. And so what I try to do is, like I was saying earlier, I just try to focus on the thing, not focus on the things that are, or the people that are not here, or the things that are going wrong for the holidays or whatever, but really focusing on the people who are here and how great it is. I mean, there's a lot of shit that's happened in the last few years, globally and in the country. A lot of strife and angst and hatred and everybody just bickering and stuff. And it's really, really a great feeling to set all of that aside and just focus on the things that matter. The family, the health, the people you do get along with and what you like about them, even the people you don't get along with, what you like about them. To focus on the actual good things has really been a help for me in the last few years. Why am I doing all the talking? You're the guest.
Oh, dude, I love what you're saying, and you triggered something for me. Let's talk about strife for a bit. I want to talk about strife. So I love what you said about how you can turn it around, but let's go into strife a bit. The human experience, and I've been feeling it a lot recently, is it's so easy to get triggered. And I've been working on this for 50 something years. Well, not really. I'd started personal growth maybe 25 years ago. And you would think that I got a lot of shit handled, and maybe I do, but it's so easy to get triggered. Now, yes, on the world stage, and a lot of us are blaming world events for our feelings. I don't watch the news, but there are murders, crime's probably going up. You've got a war in the Ukraine. You got all sorts of stuff going on. You got Roe versus Wade, and now women can't choose for themselves about having to be, all of this stuff. Trump gets elected, and then you go Biden. Oh, Biden isn't what I wanted. All of this, and people are worried on the world stage. Well, look, if we went back for decades and centuries, I bet you could find some really good stuff to worry about if you went back 100 years, went back 200 years, maybe even more than you have now. So there's that. But even without that, we've got plenty to strife about. And I know that's not the right use of the word, but I'm going to own it. Plenty of strife. I had my web hosting company. I found out they were double charging me for the last 6 months. And after 6 weeks of complaint, they said, oh, yeah, sorry about that. We're going to issue you a credit. I'm like, no, you refund that to my card, please. Oh, we can't do it. It's outside our 30-day service window. My goodness, what happened in my body, the angst and the upset and the frustration and whatever. And then I'm an actor now. And so I went to Atlanta for this horror film. And now they want me to come back, but everything's up in the air and there's lack of control and they're messing up the flights and they're messing up the hotel. And I get stressed about it. I don't like that. I like to know what's happening. And so it's so easy, or someone insults you, or someone that you like stops talking to you, and then boom, we're triggered. And so I like what you said about setting it aside. If that works for you, if you can set it aside, great. Like for me, it's hard to set it aside. Something that's been working recently is compassion. So I am a coach and I have coaches, and I have a coach right now who's reminding me to live lovingly. I have another coach who's got me listening to heart-centered meditations every morning. I did miss this morning, so I confess I skipped one. But it's almost instantaneous. When I think about compassion for the web hosting company, it's instantaneous. They've got their rules, they've got their systems. I could have spotted that 6 months ago. And now more than 30 days has passed, and they're like, well, this is how we do it. I've got the option to leave them and go somewhere else, which I'm now doing. I've got the option to go to the credit card company and say, this is not cool. Can you fix this? And they're like, yes, we can. Boom. But that's once I have compassion, and it's like, this company isn't against me. I don't think it's fair what they're doing. And then this producer, when compassion comes and I start to feel my heart, this guy's not out to get me. He's just disorganized. That's how he is. I get to choose to play with him or not. I can say, yes, I'll go back and film more scenes for the film, or I can say no. Or I can say, you know what? Let's get my manager involved. If you want me to come back, I need to handle my own flights and accommodation. Pay me up front. In fact, pay me for everything up front, because I had to chase you last time for money, and I don't like doing that. So if you're willing to do that, yeah, I'll jump on a plane and we'll have a good time. But compassion is doing that. So that's my theme for today and this week, and hopefully the next 30, 40 years, because it feels better. And so in the holiday periods, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, is there someone, here's a great exercise for anybody listening, is there someone you're upset at or frustrated with right now? Could be an employee, could be, I coach a lot of business owners. So if you're a business owner, is there a staff member or a vendor or a customer who's got you frustrated? If you were to feel compassion for them, what would that feel like? How would that look? And then from that space, if you can access that, one way is imagine looking into their eyes and then imagining them as a child, 5 years old, because that person was a 5-year-old child once. That's sometimes a way to find their innocence and access compassion. And then from there, what action do you want to take? It'd be a whole different conversation.
An entirely different conversation. It'd be awesome if when you did that, you actually talked to them like they were a 5-year-old.
Well, that may not go as well as one might hope, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I can't speak for other countries and other cultures. I can only speak for, I'm going to speak for all of America right now.
All right.
I'm the spokesperson for the United States of America and everybody who lives here. Most of the time we're thinking about ourselves. For instance, if somebody cuts you off in traffic, they cut me off, like they offended me. They have it, like you said earlier, they have it out for me. Well, if you stop thinking about yourself in that situation and maybe think about somebody, they don't know you. It's not personal. Maybe they're on their way to the hospital because something happened to somebody they loved or whatever. The excuses are limitless, but I guess my point is if we take a little time to take ourselves out of our shoes, then we might be a little happier knowing that everybody's not out to get us. That hosting company that double charged you, like you said, they're not out for you. They don't know you. They're not out to get you. It's not in their best interest to be out to get their customers. They have some policies you don't agree with and you're free to leave, but none of that was personally targeted. It's not a personal attack. And I think that I don't know if it's just because that's the society we've created for ourselves, but of late, I feel like a lot of people are coming from the point of view of this is a personal attack on me. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if somebody cuts you off or if, your mail gets delivered to the wrong house or your package didn't show up on time. Everybody takes it. I can't say everybody. I'm just going to say all of America. We take it as a personal attack.
I love how you didn't want to speak for the whole world, but you speak for America. I think you're absolutely right. And I've been catching it recently. I think it's my default response. Something happens, boom.
It's everybody's. You're an American now, so I can speak for you. It's all of it's instantaneously, that's where we go.
And I've applied for citizenship in the last month. So I soon will be.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I hope to be an American citizen in the next year or two. Thank you. I think it's the default. And so let's name that. We've got to know that's our default. The ego will kick in, but let's name it. Default, right? Something happens, and then the ego kicks in and says, unfair, right? This web hosting company, that's unfair. This is bullshit. You can't treat me like that. So now I'm in victim mode. I don't even know this. I'm feeling like a victim. I'm feeling like this is unfair. You should change this. You could even say to the company, wow, I notice I'm triggered. I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling angry and frustrated. I feel like this is unfair. And I feel jerked around for 6 weeks. Come on, guys. Is there someone who can help me here? And that's the default. The producer booked me a flight to Atlanta, 17-hour flight to Atlanta, right?
From Los Angeles?
Yeah. And this is after waiting 10 days to get the information. And I get the information the night before I'm ready to travel. I'm already stressed. And now it's a 17-hour flight. So the ego kicks in and it's like, this person's against me. It's instant againstness. And this is where we are at war with the world. So, the way out of it is, you said, step in the other person's shoes. I agree with that. I have found that difficult because the trick is, how do you remember? How do you even notice? You have to catch yourself and go, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm triggered. You know what? On this podcast, Steve said, can I step in the other person's shoes for a moment? I find that very difficult. So what's working for me at the moment is compassion. Can I have compassion for this person? Can I find it? And as soon as I say the word compassion, I find I'm now in their shoes. I'm like, what's going on for him? Oh, this guy's trying to handle a film. This guy's probably got chaos going on. They're probably behind budget. They thought they were going to be finished 2 months ago. Now they need to do another 11 days. He's got funding issues and whatever. And I don't think his natural zone and skill set is organizing flights and this and communicating with people. So now, and I had this conversation with my manager, when we got to there, it was a whole different approach, because what we were going to do is get back, because he brought up the contract, which, and he said, you're contractually obligated to this, that, and whatever. We wanted to go back with 5 points of how he was wrong. You see how we're now buying into the againstness? And his message was polite, but we skipped over that. And we just went to, he's getting, so we're suiting up and we're looking at the contract and we're like, no, there are 5 reasons why it doesn't actually apply here. But do you think that would be a good approach? No. Once we brought compassion to it, we realized this guy isn't against us. He's just trying to get this stuff done. And he's negotiating. And so we came back with a very short response. I don't think the contract means what you think it does. But let's not get into it right now. You don't have a firm date yet. Sounds like you have to push it back. Why don't we wait till you got a firm date and a firm offer on the table, and then we'll get into it. and we can probably take a lot of things off your plate, like the travel and the accommodation and the whatever. We'll get the payment handled up front. And so you just don't have to deal with it. That was our approach once we were coming from compassion. And I tell you what, Steve, my mind had been looping on this for a week because I hadn't heard anything and hadn't heard anything. And I'm like stressing, what's going on? You said you want me on a plane Thursday. It's now Sunday and we don't have a contract, right? I'm stressing, but now it's like, I don't have to do anything. There's no againstness anymore. And when he gets back, we're not going to chase. We're not going to fight. We're just going to say, hey, just FYI, to hold those dates, we're going to need a contract and an advance payment over to you, and just leave it. It's a whole different thing.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
When you talked about, the triggers and the default reaction, and in traffic, right? Traffic's a great thing. People cut you off. I had a woman in Boulder, Colorado, where people are generally very peaceful. I was waiting for a parking spot to appear. I was sitting there for 5 minutes in my car. Parking spot appears. I jumped into it. And I saw that someone had just showed up in a car, and I jumped in before they could. I've been waiting there for 5 minutes. That woman stopped in the middle of traffic and screamed at me. I'd never had this. Screamed at me. I parked the car. I'm triggered. I'm in fight or flight. I walked away, and then I saw that she parked next to me because another one had opened up. And I was like, my car's getting keyed. That's what I'm like, my car's getting keyed. So I didn't come back out of any altruism or any compassion, but I came back out of self-preservation. And then she got out of the car. She came right at me. She's looking furious. And out of nowhere, I don't know how this came out of my mouth, but what I said was, I don't want you to have a bad day. And that woman stopped in her tracks. And I could see, it looked like she just melted. And I think tears started to come. And she said, I have had the worst day on record. I am so sorry for screaming at you. I have had a miserable day. Oh my God. And I said, I want you to have a good day. Maybe you didn't see me there. I was waiting for 5 minutes. I'm sorry. I want you to have a good day. And she said, can I hug you? And I tell you what, I was nervous because it was such a sudden shift. I found it hard to trust. And I was like, is she playing possum? Whatever. But I thought, I'm going to take a risk. I said, come here. And I gave her a hug for about a minute. And then I said, have a good one. And she walked off. And that was the interaction. But it came out of accidental compassion. And so, again, I want to bring this back for business owners, or maybe you've got a job, you don't own your own business. Where is their angst? And there's a business reason for you to listen to this stuff. It's not just so you can be Buddha. It's not just so that you can be at peace. But if you come from againstness, if that's your default, as with most humans, and you suit up for againstness and justify and defend, it will likely go worse. And you'll have stress with you, this employee, or with this vendor, or this customer is not going to sign up. But if you come from compassion, I truly believe that more people will want to be around you. They will be drawn to you. They will be happy to be working for you, and they will stick around longer. How much does it cost you to rehire and retrain someone that's worked for you for 3 years and they've left and drifted away, they've quit? That is horrendously expensive. But if you can cultivate this joy and this compassion and you know what? I am stepping into your shoes. I think I did think you must be thinking this, and this. And I imagine this is really frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating. Say more about that. Yeah, all right. Well, can I tell you my side of it? This is what I've got going on. How can we work this out? You come from that. People want to be around you. You're going to make more money. It may sound cold, but I know a lot of people are driven. A lot of us are driven by, we want to see the bottom line. I want to give you a business reason to ask yourself, What would compassion look like here with this interaction? You're going to have peace. Within seconds, you're going to have some peace. Then you're going to start seeing their world. You're going to have a different interaction. That's my prediction for you.
I think it's a great prediction. Communication, I think it's so weird. I think social media has ratcheted down our ability to communicate. Like you're saying, hey, tell me more about that. How did it upset you, or tell me your side or whatever. We don't do that anymore. I really think it's because of the bite-sized nature of social media. We just take one little mouthful of a sentence or whatever, and then we just get to assume the rest about anybody's story or anybody's interaction. And so oddly enough, I think that social media, which was supposed to be designed to bring us all closer together, I think that it's helped us develop a lack of communication. And that's just the weirdest. That's just weird. That's just so weird.
The social media may have exacerbated it. There's a core of it that is not social media. I don't know enough to speak with confidence about what the core is, but what I suspect is it comes from wherever we got our initial division. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I suspect that as a child, when we got like, oh, I'm separate, this is my body and this is your body, and I'm hungry and I need this, right? And we start with survival. I think it's just at our core, it's ego. And I don't think ego is wrong or bad. It's just that, and I'll speak for myself, I've gotten so deeply into this identification that when something comes up and I feel threatened, or the identity is threatened, then all this defense kicks in. And I'm sure that there are times when that's super useful. Like I was in Bali, this guy came and knocked at the door and she flashed a badge and said in rapid Indonesian that I was wanted for questioning. It turns out what had happened is I was subletting a room in my house, and I'd advertised it, and you're not allowed to do that in Bali. And now any other country, they wouldn't care, but in Bali, they can get a lot of money by putting you in jail and then getting bribes. So it matters. And ego kicked in. And I think it was all the ego and the survival that got me out of the country, because my lawyer was talking about jail time. And so the ego is great. But when we come from that as a default, that's where I think we're missing the opportunities. And the first step is acknowledging, oh, I can't believe after 50 something years, I can't believe it's the default. When something happens, default is, oh, you shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. And here's why it was wrong. That's not fair. Let me correct you. The default isn't, oh, wonder what it's like for them. What had that person cut me off in traffic? There's a neighbor who we had a cup of coffee and it was great. I texted and said, I had a great time. And she wrote back, said, feel free to invite me again. That was really great. I haven't heard from her in months, not responding to texts. I don't know what's going on. But the default is not compassion. I have to think about that later. I wonder what's going on for her. She might be having a rough time. So I texted and I just said, I hope everything's okay. Now I've left it because I don't know. For whatever reason, she doesn't want to be in communication. I don't know. Mine doesn't come up with all the positive stuff. My mind goes to, worst case scenarios. Anyway, I'll stop. Now I feel like I'm doing a lot of speaking and I'd like to do less of that.
I can't go past this question. I can't not ask this. Are you a wanted man in Indonesia? Did you flee the country?
I'm going to say no and yes. So yes, I fled the country. Absolutely. 11 o'clock in one morning, I was having a cup of tea at a friend's house, not a care in the world. And 11 o'clock that night, I was on a plane with whatever luggage I could stuff into 2 suitcases, hoping that the plane would take off and there wouldn't be an announcement, oh, we have to hold the plane because the passenger's being flagged. I didn't know if I'd get through the airport. When you watch it in a movie, it's exciting, the Bourne identity and, oh, does this, and whatever. But when I was in it, I realized I'd make a terrible spy. It was so terrifying because I knew that they had my passport number. And I was wanted for questioning. So if they were organized enough to flag it, I'd be flagged and taken for questioning, and that'd be the end of it. So yeah, I fled the country. I don't think I'm a wanted man in Indonesia because I don't think they're that organized. And it was 5 or 6 years ago, and I was wanted for questioning about something. It wasn't even, I was convicted of something. I no longer have that place, and I'm no longer subletting the thing. So I assumed that if I went back to Bali, there'd be nothing that would ever happen. And if they did draw me aside for questioning, I'd probably have to just bribe someone to let it go. And that'd be the end of it. That's kind of how it works. Plus, I happen to speak not just common Balinese, but polite Balinese. And no foreigners speak Balinese. Any foreigners, if they learn a language, they learn Indonesian. It's spoken in 10,000 islands. It's the common language and it's easy to learn. There's lots of training programs. Balinese, no one knows it. So when I get there and I start speaking in Balinese, as long as they're from Bali, then I'm good to go. They stop traffic sometimes to see if you have the right international driver's permit and whatever, because they just want to bribe. I had a date on the back of my bike, and I showed off my polite Balinese, Rahajang Samang and Punapi Gatrane, and the guy was like blown away. And I actually wanted him to ask for my driver's permit because I was one of the few people who actually had one. I had one. I had it, and I wanted to be like, yes, there it is. Never even got to it. He said, oh, be on your way. Have a wonderful evening and polite Balinese. It didn't even occur to him to ask me for the permit. So anyway, if I got back, I think it'd be fine.
Once again, David Wood is the CEO of Focus.CEO. He's a life coach and author of a couple of books, most recently Mouse in the Room, Because the Elephant is Not Alone. Why should people buy Mouse in the Room?
I don't think everybody should buy Mouse in the Room, but you should buy Mouse in the Room if you're interested in a deeper level of truth in your life and your business. If I said to you, look, I'm going to take your level of truth and we're going to take you to a shallower level of truth, so you're going to be able to reveal less of your experience, and you're going to have less tough conversations, and you're going to hide more, and you're going to lie more often, I doubt anybody would want to do that. You know, we like our level of truth and our level of access to that. But if you want a deeper level of truth, which leads to more connection, more trust, more influence, people want to be around you, people want to work for you longer, more clients want to work with you, I think you'll make more money. You'll be more charismatic. If you want a deeper level of truth, this book will inspire you to that. It'll show you, oh, wow, I didn't even realize I was hiding that. I didn't realize these tolerations are things that I really could speak up about. These desires, I could actually name them. I may not get them fulfilled, but I could name them. Curiosity, I'd be more curious about people. It'll help you go to a deeper level of truth. And as you do that, you will model that. You will become more of a leader, so that your staff will get unconscious permission to speak more of their truth. And I tell you, you want that. You don't want to find out after they quit that something was wrong. Your partner, your kids will unconsciously get permission to speak more of their truth to you and say, you know, could we do this? Or that actually isn't working for me. In the bedroom, I don't actually like that, right? Wouldn't you want to know if there was something in the bedroom that your partner wasn't enjoying?
It really depends on how much I enjoyed it.
Right. Head in the sand is another approach. This book is not that. This book is, let's find out what's happening for people around us and let's share more of who we are. We've all got our level of truth, and that's great. And it's often hard to see a deeper level. This book will show you that. There's my pitch for Mouse in the Room. And that's why I wrote it. I want the world to come closer together and to have more compassion, starting with ourselves. This book will, it says in the first chapter, you may have found this book in the self-help section, but it's not about improving yourself. It's about knowing yourself and then sharing more of who you really are with the world. And then everybody benefits from that.
Where can people find it?
mouseintheroom.com. Yeah. In fact, you know what? I created a page for listeners because I thought once people have listened to me? What's something I could give them? And so I created a link where you can get a 15-minute session with me to look at your business and see where the low-hanging fruit is and create a plan for your business and your life. That might be all you need. I also use that a way to see if long-term coaching could be a fit for you, if we might be a fit for each other. But that's my gift to you, a 15-minute session. If you qualify, and it'll tell you on that page how you qualify for it. Also, I created a video on how to achieve twice as much in half the time. So if you're interested in productivity, you can get that on this page. And then I created a link to Mouse in the Room as well for people who are interested in the book. That's not free. It's like $12.95, but it's pretty close to free in my book since I spent 2 years writing the thing. I think it's a good deal. Go to focus.ceo/gift. That's focus.ceo/gift. That's where you can access that session with me, the video, and Mouse in the Room, which is also on Amazon. You can also find that on Amazon. But I think it's cooler to go through the Mouse in the Room link that I gave you because there are a couple of freebies too. If you go on the Mouse in the Room part, the little mouse hole, what do they call that hole that mice come in and out of?
I think it's called a mouse hole.
Oh, right. So you go through the mouse hole and there are a couple of extra goodies they created for people who decide they want to get the book.
Those links will be in the show notes as well, Streetwalkers. David Wood, man, it was such a pleasure to have you back. I feel like we really got a lot accomplished here. Maybe for the listeners, but for sure for me and for my well-being and for my happiness in the moment and the moments to come. What did you think?
What did I think of this?
Yeah, did we do a good job today? Did we help some fools out, including ourselves?
I'm happy about this interview because I'm practicing more stillness and more just being with what comes up and being in the flow, practicing more compassion. And I love that we got to talk about that. This is the first time I've talked about compassion. And I've done 350 podcast interviews. So I like that. And I'm going to take this video and pull out that clip and put it on the blog and social media at some point because I just love that we got to like bring that out, and that's that nugget about compassion. So yeah, I feel like we got to serve people today, and that's really what I'm about. So thank you for creating the space that allowed me to show up in that way.
Well, likewise, David, thank you for creating an atmosphere where we could have that sort of a conversation. You can't have those conversations with everybody. I promise. I have tried. David Wood, CEO of Focus.CEO, life coach and author of most recently, The Mouse in the Room, Because the Elephant is Not Alone. Go check out those links. Go check out that book and follow David on all the social media things.
Thank you. Oh, I just realized one thing that I think was missing is I didn't tell people who I coach.
Yeah, do it.
So if I could just say who I coach is business owners who are already successful. You're already on the board. You already got like at least $5,000 a month. You might even be earning up to, I coach people up to 8 million a month that they're earning, but you're already successful and you want your business to be better. Maybe you want to be more organized, more productive, more, clearer about what's happening there, but you also want your life to be better because I work on the whole person, not just segmenting it. This is who you are at business. This is who you are at life. So we might look at your level of truth, might look at your integrity. I just went with a client into her fear of what's really holding her back in going for it. So that's who I coach generally. So if that's for you, then that link focus.ceo/gift could be very useful. And if it's not you, I'm still happy to help. If there's something I can do, if there's something you didn't understand, reach out to me. My email is david@focus.ceo. I'd be very happy to hear from you and help you in whatever way I can.
Wonderful words to go out on. David, thank you so much for coming back, man. I really appreciate you coming back on the show and letting us get to know a little bit more about you on Fascination Street, man.
My pleasure. It's good to see you, Steve.
Try to stay in the moment and keep compassion forefront. All right. There's going to be a lot of crazy assholes. So make sure compassion is up there.
Good. Those crazy assholes give us the opportunity to experience compassion and grace.
And to practice it.
In fact, someone said recently, you can't even get grace. You can't experience grace without that. You need some friction to generate grace. Otherwise, it's not grace.
Agreed. I agree with that person. David, you have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you later, my friend.
Yeah.
Take it easy, buddy. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2001 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.